evening and welcome to Chaturday Live. I'm your host, Jay Robinson, chatting to you live on Facebook and YouTube. So hello and welcome. So for those that are new to the show, my name is Jay Robinson. This show has been set up in support of mental health awareness, offering entertainment for those that are in lockdown and obviously suffering. We're here just to offer some entertainment. I interview people on a weekly basis of interest, small businesses, celebrities, obviously, and maybe a few football stars every now and then. So tonight's show, we're going to be interviewing the one and only Mr. Chris Humphrey. He's an ex-professional footballer who's turned his hand to management over the last year or so. We're going to be talking to him about his career from start to finish, how it all came about, maybe give you guys a bit of an in-depth behind the scenes of what life is actually like for footballers in general on the professional scale. It's not all money, Ferraris, and plain sailing. There is a bit of hardship that goes behind it, and Chris is going to open up and tell us pretty much everything about it, to be honest with you. As always, the show is live, it's interactive. Feel free to hit that like button, hit that share button, and feel free to get in the comment section and ask questions live on the show. We'll read them out, I'll read them out, and Chris can probably see them as well, but we'll put them up on the screen. So any football related questions, feel free to ask, and if Chris doesn't know or I don't know, we'll just say we don't know. It's as simple as that, to be honest with you. So we won't take any longer than we have to. I'm really excited. For those that are watching maybe from another channel, you'll probably know that I do already have a relationship with Chris on a professional level. But we'll go into that hopefully right near the end, and we'll explain why. So please welcome and like and share and say hello in the comments to the one and only Mr. Chris Humphrey. Hello, Chris.
Are you all right?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good. That's what I like to hear. So I've got you on the show tonight, and I'm very happy that we do, because hopefully we'll be able to give a little bit of an in-depth behind, football in itself. So for those that are watching, they know where you are now, but if they do, you're not actually, you're not actually British, are you? So you're a Jamaican international, is that right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So you were born in Jamaica. So when did you come across to the UK?
So I came over when I was 5.
Yeah. Where did you move to?
Moved to my mum brought me over when I was 5, and I lived with my auntie for 5 years. My mum obviously had everything still over in Jamaica when she brought me over, so she had a lot of business to sort out over there before she could move over with me. So I ended up moving from Jamaica to England, not knowing anyone. I'd never obviously met her family before, so I was living with people I didn't know at that age, and they kind of brought me up for the first 5 years of my life. And then my mum would travel from back and forth. I'd see her maybe twice a year, something like that, while she just sorted stuff out over there. And when she finally came back, we ended up moving to Walsall, and that's where I've that's where I stayed ever since.
Okay. So obviously coming over from a complete different country to the UK, I mean, where does football fit into this? I mean, did football start at a young age, or is it something later on in your teen years? Where does football come into your life?
My mum says that I've been playing football since the age of 2. Okay. I loved football. My mum was I was raised by just my mum, so it wasn't like I had a dad in the background that was forcing me to play football or anything like that. And she said that I just had a ball at my feet from the very beginning. She said I loved playing football, and it was just something that I enjoyed doing at the start, and even at a young age, I just enjoyed playing football.
Oh, cool. So we've got kids probably watching, or if they're not watching, at a young age, like you say. Have you got to go? You got to go?
Yeah, first one.
Go. You're all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I must explain on this unforeseeable situation. Chris is actually at home just by himself at the moment, so he's just doing doing the childly duties as well. He is a parent, he is a dad of his own, so he's doing his bits and bobs. We did discuss this, but flick those comments in now while Chris has disappeared. Any football questions you have that we can get to at some point during the show, if you fling them in now, say your hellos, make sure you like it and share it at the same time, and then obviously when Chris comes back, we'll go into that. So I can explain a few things of obviously Chris's career because we've gone through pre-chats and stuff like that. So Chris is a Jamaican international. He's played for Jamaica. Obviously lives in the UK now. He's had a professional career spanning, at least over the last 20 years or so in and around professional football. He's currently residing as a manager, which we'll get to a little bit later on with a team in Cumbria. And as I said, we're going to talk to him about literally the ups and downs of professional football. And for any of you guys out there that may be young enough and still thinking about getting into professional football, Chris is going to pretty much be honest with you and tell you the cutthroat, how it is on football. Hello, he's back now. So as we were, Chris, welcome back.
Yeah.
Right. So at a young age, you're about 10 years old and whatnot. So how does a young boy get into football, like club wise? I mean, where was your first club?
Well, I think that it took me to have my own son to realise what my mum actually did for me at that young age. And I played for Cubs. I played for the all the way for a Sunday league team, really, from the age of 6, 7, like they do now. And I loved playing. It was just something that I loved doing. And it got to the age of 10, and I really started getting interest from Villa, from Blues, from West Brom, from Walsall, all the the Midlands teams. Derby, I think, was one as well. And my mum had just said to me, "No, he's not going." I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was too. She just believed that it was too young to be pressured like that, and if you didn't get in, or all those sort of things, the stresses and all the different things that comes with it for such a young age. And I could never understand that. I'd kick off with her and I'd say, "Oh, no, I want to go." At the time, I've always been a West Brom fan. So I was a big West Brom fan, and the chance to go and play for them, for their under 9s or under 8s, whatever it was back then, was just like, this is amazing. But she said no. She said, "You know what? If you're big enough, if you're good enough when you're 13, you can go." And that's that's basically what it was. And I ended up playing for the school all the way through school as well. I was school captain. And I ended up playing for the county as well. And it so happened that the county wanted me to play a year younger. So they called me up to play with the year older at the county. Got through all the trials and everything. And then they told me that I wouldn't be able to play because I was too young. So obviously that was heartbroken. And that was the first introduction to someone rejecting me, to saying, "No, actually, we don't want you." And that was at 14, 15. So, it is a very tough sport to get into. It is a very tough sport to stay in. And if you think about it, there's millions and millions and millions of kids that want to be footballers. So the competition to be a footballer is frightening.
Yeah. So what is the difference? I know this is going to sound a bit cutthroat, and some people might not want to hear it. I mean, what is the difference between being a good footballer and being a great footballer and going on to have a professional career? I mean, what does it take, dedication-wise?
Well, I'd like to think that I was a good footballer. And then when you look at the people like Ronaldo and Messi and all these kind of guys, they're great footballers. Now, it's funny you ask that, because I always think to myself, what could I have done more to get to a level like that? Because I like to think that I had, a pretty decent career, done a lot in it. But these guys are on a different level. Was I dedicated? Yes. Was football my life? Yes. Did I work hard? Yes. But these guys are just different animals, of different breeds, and their talent is just something phenomenal. So to be better than good, you've got to have some talent.
I think that's what we're trying to get at. This is no sugarcoating show. We're not going to sugarcoat the fact that obviously you was a professional footballer and it was la-di-da and you had everything you wanted. We're trying to say that, the honest behind the scenes of football, that players do get rejected, even probably. I mean, if I'm right in saying so, we can use Jamie Vardy as a prime excuse that, he, for a long while, he just wasn't good enough. And now
no.
look at him. I think he's in almost 30, if not older, still going. So, like you say, it's all about proving somebody wrong. But as you say, being cutthroat in the game of football and sport itself, you must have seen a few people around you in training academies, getting cut loose. Is it as cutthroat as it sounds?
It is. I'll never forget when I was in the under-16s at West Bromwich Albion, and it was the dreaded day that every footballer dreads when it comes up to after Christmas time, and you're getting told whether you're gonna get a scholarship or not to go in the youth team, and everybody panics. Am I gonna get one? Blah blah blah. And I still remember it to this day. We were sat in the car. Training was called off. Sat in the car waiting to be called in. It was Adi Boothroyd at the time, who was like head of academy at West Brom, and there was what did we have, a squad of 18, 19, and I remember sitting in the car with my mum, and two different sets of parents had come up to the car to my mum and gave a big piece of paper with all the boys' numbers on and everything, and just said, that's for Chris to keep in contact with blah blah blah, when he gets released. So these parents, this is what I'm saying. So these parents are already planning that their kids are going to go, to the next level. So anyway, I was called in last, so I'm seeing kid after kid after kid coming out. These are my mates coming out crying. Everybody's crying. Didn't get in. Didn't get a scholarship. So obviously I'm coming in last now. So it's my turn. And I'm like, well, I just turned to my mama and I said, you know what, mama, I'm not getting on. Like, I'm just seeing 5 of my mates leave that were 10 times better than me. 10 times better. And I thought, well, if they're leaving, I've got no chance. And my mum took me up to the car, took me up to the meeting room. And I'll never forget it, because she stopped there. I was 15, maybe coming to 16 at the time. She stopped at the door and she said, you're going in on your own. And I looked around and I was like, no, this is like the biggest thing of my life. And he's sending me in on my own. And she said, no, you're a man now. This is your big thing. This is an opportunity that you're going to have, or could potentially have if you were to get one. This is where it starts. And she says, this is you now. Mm-hmm. So I remember, well, that made me even more nervous. Like, my mum's my rock, you know what I mean? Like, she's been my rock my whole life. And now she's telling me she's disappearing. I'm like, well, the most important time of my life. And I'm like, where are you going? So off she went and sat back in the car. And I remember sitting down at the table and Adi going, look, we're not going to prolong it because we can see you're nervous as anything, but we're going to offer you a contract. And like, my eyes were like, I was shocked because, like I say, my mates that were 10 times better than me had been let go. And he said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. You're not the best player that we've had walk through the door. You've got a talent. You're very fast. So that always helps. But what I like about you the most is 2 months ago, we sat everybody down individually and we told them they need to work on blah, blah, blah. And he said, you're the only one that we've seen in the games leading up to this decision who has actually took it upon himself to go and try to improve those things. You've obviously done it away from the football club and you've tried to improve those things. We can see you've tried to improve them. And for me, that's what shows me your commitment, and it shows me you're willing to learn, and it shows me the biggest thing is that you listen. Because in football, if you don't listen to what the manager says or the coach says, you may as well pack up and go home, because you only get one chance. Well, I say one chance, 2 chances. This is what I've learned in football. The manager will tell you, so if my crossing's not very good, which it was horrendous at a time, he will go, you need to practice your crossing and make sure it gets better. Then he'll forget about it. Nothing will happen from that. If he has to come back to me again and say, you need to practice your crossing, well, that's the end of me at that football club, because he shouldn't have to tell me that again, if that makes sense. I should be out there every day on the training pitch, crossing thousands of balls in, making sure that he never, ever comes to me again and says, your crossing needs to be better. Now, he can come to me and say, right, now that's good, your shooting needs to be better, or your passing, or your heading, or whatever. But you've got to have that mentality of, he will never, ever say to me again, your crossing needs to be better. So it was just, I learned that obviously from AD at a very young age. And yeah, to listen.
So with like you say, with that, this is like you say, that's the difference between being a good footballer and a great football. Probably is like you say. You said that there's 5, 6 of your mates that you were pally with that could probably outskill you on dribbling on the pitch. But if they didn't listen to the manager when they were saying you need to look up more, you need to look at your places, your gaps, your spaces, your shots on target. If they didn't do that, but you were concentrating and they told you practice your targeting, practice your crossing, make sure you found your space, and you've proved that in training. And like you say, you've earned your space over probably somebody that may be better than you, just because you've shown that you've listened and taken instructions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the biggest thing from that is that once he said all that, then you're on to the next test. So the next test was obviously because obviously you'd signed 4 players, a player from Manchester, a player from Norwich, a player from all over the country. So these players were stopping in digs at the time, a house where you stop when you live far away. And the next test now was, he said, right, straight after all that, right, the digs was literally 10 minutes from my house. So the digs was in Warsaw, 10 minutes away from the house. And he said, right, you're going to stop in digs as well. Now, this is unheard of, like kids that were just there. And I've never left home. So he's now putting something else on me. You're moving out and you're going to live there. So for me, it was like, and I think it was harder for me to live there than it was for the lads that lived far away, because I had more, I had more of a chance of going to meet my friends, or my friends knocking the door, or going and seeing my mum more. So in the end of it, when my friends messaging me or knocking the door saying, you're coming out, I've then got a decision to make. Do I go out or do I go, no, this is more important? So you're tested all the time.
Yeah. So like you say, with the digs, like you say, it's more of a self-restraint. Like you say, if somebody's living and they're like, well, you're in Brom, you're obviously in digs, but you've got somebody that's obviously from Scotland, you're like, well, he's never going to have the opportunity to go out with his mates because they're not going to be at the door. And like you said, you've got that opportunity. It's like, you could just sneak out and go, I'm going to go home and see my mum. I miss my mum, or I'm going to go and see my mates and I'm going to go around there and go and play on the computer or whatever. Just get away from it. And like you say, that being so close and so easy to you, like you say, you've got to master the mentality of going, like what's more important is, an hour with my mates really important, or, is my football career going to end in a night if I mess something up? Like you say, you've got more to take.
But it's sacrifice. It's sacrifices, Jack.
Yeah.
Football is, if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, then you've got no chance. And like you say, it's cutthroat, what we're talking about. Prime story is, one of mine is your prom. Everybody wants to go to their prom. Everybody loves, it's the thing that everybody looks forward to. But I had an opportunity to go and play in the youth team when I was 16. I had an opportunity to go and play in the youth team. And it was a floodlit league, it was called back then, and it was a big thing that the youth team players played in. And it was one of those things where it was on the same night as my prom.
All right.
So I had a massive decision to make. The manager of the youth team said, look, it's your prom, you've got to go to it. Don't be silly, don't do. But as I've learned in my career, managers will say that, but it comes back and bites you, because they'll go, well, you chose your prom. Even though they're telling you to go, you chose your prom. So I chose not to go to my prom, which still hurts to this day. And I was only on the bench. I didn't come on either. So I missed my prom for being on the bench. But in my heart and in my mind, I knew that I'd been there, showed them how committed I was.
Mm.
So it's there's a lot of things that you miss out in life being a footballer. But if you want to be successful, it's just part and parcel.
Yeah. So when you say scholarships, then what's the difference between a scholarship being 15, 16 years old to obviously having contracts and agreements? What's the difference then? What are kids looking for? The scholarship, what is kind of like just more teaching? Are you paid for this scholarship as well as a career?
So like, I think when I was at West Brom, it's probably gone up way more now. But when I was at West Brom, you have a first and second year scholar. So when you leave the 16s, then you're up to 18, you have a first and second year scholar. And then after that, you're going up for your pro. You're going to be you're fighting for that professional contract in those 2 years. But some people might only be offered a 1 year scholarship. And then you're trying to fight for a second year scholarship. And then after that, a pro. So, we had, back then when I was to be honest, I was very fortunate to have done it at a club like this. And I'm still very close friends with a lot of players that were there when I was in the youth team, like Paul Robinson and Darren Moore, Sultan Gira, these kind of guys, that I was their boot boy. And it's gone out of the game now, but, I used to clean their boots. I used to get £250 a time as well, at Christmas. Yeah, Christmas and my birthday and stuff. Off each of them, Zoltan Gira used to just give me boots. He used to give me boots twice a month, studs and molds. And for a young boy that's just on £50 a week, a new pair of boots that cost £100, £150 back then, these boots. And for me, like when he used to give me, I didn't spend any money on boots. So that was his way of thanking me for cleaning his boots.
Oh, so they weren't for selling on. You wore them.
I wore.
You wore those boots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was never something that interested me. He was the same size as me. So why sell them for £150 for argument's sake and go out and buy clothes? But then I'm going to have to spend another £150 on boots, So every time he gave me boots, I would wear them. I would use them for myself. And then I would free up that money that I would have had to spend for boots on something else. So, but don't get me wrong. When you do make it as a professional footballer, you're part of the PFA. And back then, I don't know if they do it now, but you got boot money from the PFA. So you got a card that you could just spend in, I don't know, sports soccer or whatever, JJB back in the day.
Yeah.
And you went in with this card and it had £150, £200, and you used to get boot molds and studs. So if Zali had already given me boots, I'd buy boots and then sell them to my mates down the road. Oh, how much you got the boot card? They always knew. Why is it they always knew when this boot card was coming? You got the boot card, yeah. Can you buy some boots? So yeah, we did it that way, but it's all part and parcel. I've had to sing Christmas songs with a Christmas hat on and just boxer shorts or slips, they called it back there, briefs, all them sort of things in the middle of the canteen on my own in front of the whole first team, throwing eggs and flour at you and stuff. But it makes you who you are, and it makes you the footballer that that you want to be, because that just makes you used to an environment that is tough.
Yeah. While you just mentioned that, we'll come back to some other things. But while you just mentioned that, when you see it on TV or on Twitter now, and obviously social media, if a Premier League player or professional players, obviously you see them normally singing, I did it my way or whatever, standing on a chair in the middle of a canteen. Is that to embarrass them, or is this like an initiation to say, the idea is that we're all meant to be in it together, so loosen up? I mean, what's the idea, or is it literally just to rip the hell out of you?
I had a 15-year career, and every club had 6 or 7 different clubs, and at every club I've had to do an initiation test.
Yeah.
My song was always Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme tune.
Nice.
Because that's the only song I know all the words to. So, but I'll tell you what now. I've played at Wembley twice, been on the bench the third time in front of 80,000, and I could go on a pitch like that and you don't hear anything. You're not scared. You're not worried. You just go out there and do it. You stand on a chair in front of 16 of your teammates with their cameras out like that, taking a picture, and you stand on the chair in front of them all and in front of your gaffer and the coaching staff, and you've got the bottle of tomato ketchup as your mic, and you've now got to go and sing. It's hard. It's tough. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to
do. Right. So was it Brom that gave you your first professional contract? Then was it at Brom or
no? It was at
no. So what happened then? So you'd done your scholarship, and then how does it work at the end of it?
So you do your scholarship. I got a really bad injury at the age of 18. I had little little holes behind my knee. Who's that? Lindsay. I can't, Lindsay. Sorry.
I just thought I'd throw it out there and catch you out.
I had holes at behind my knee. So I remember going for a scan, and the surgeon said, "Look, you know, we've scanned you." I remember going in, being put to sleep, cameras down, had a look at it, and they said, "Look, you're gonna have to retire at the age of 18." He told me you're gonna have to retire because we can't fix it. It can only be fixed on your own. And I was like, well, "What do you mean? Like, this is the worst thing that I could have been told, that I had to retire." And it was at the time. It was the physio, who was the youth team physio at the time, who said to me, "Chris, you know what? We're not just going to retire like that. We're not going to let you retire like that. We're going to work hard for 8 months, just in the gym, upper bodies and stuff like that. We'll see where you're at, and then we'll go from there." So I remember going in every day, upper bodies, banging out the upper bodies. Looked like The Rock at the end of it with these twiggy little legs, because I hadn't touched my legs anywhere. And I remember going back 8 months later and him doing the test again, and they were gone. It was a miracle. That's what I say to myself. It was a miracle. When it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I came back from that. They have to get you fit before they release you. My first game back, we so happened to play Shrewsbury's first team. If anybody knows Gay Meadow, it was Shrewsbury's old ground. It was always flooded, always. They were by a river, and the banks used to burst all the time with a little bit of rain. So I remember we played their first team, on the Hawthorns, the West Brom's first team pitch, first team stadium, and Craig Shakespeare at the time, who was my youth team manager, said, "You're going to play in this, you're going to start in this reserve game, blah, blah, blah." And at the end of that game, the first team, Gary Peters at the time, first team manager for Shrewsbury, came up to Shaky afterwards and said, "Flipping heck, who's that number 7? Good player, him. Is there any chance that we can get him on loan for this season?" And Shaky just said, "Look, we're going to be releasing Chris. He had a bad injury that he's just come from. And we've moved on from him to bring in someone else. So he's available." And I remember the next day, Gary Peters talking to me after the game and saying, "Look, we want to sign you, blah, blah. Would you be willing to come back on the bus?" This was like 10 o'clock at night. "We'll put you in a hotel." And I signed for you the next day. I said, "No, I need to go home and speak to my mum first. She's my advisor. She looks after me and stuff." So I remember going home, 10 o'clock, going to my mum. You never guess what. And I remember getting up at 7 o'clock and driving to Shrewsbury for 8, signing the contract, 8:30, 8:45, and then training with the first team at Shrewsbury. And then that was it. That was the start of Chris Humphrey's career, really.
So Shrewsbury was your first professional contract. That's it. So going from next to now, obviously I haven't got to go into too many details, but I'm guessing there's a dramatic rise from cleaning boots to having a pro contract. Then there's got to be an uplifting feeling, obviously, that your wages have gone up a little bit.
Well, but the thing is, they didn't go up much. I was 18 at the time, gone to Shrewsbury. What I was on, £100, £120 a week, but I was driving from Walsall to Shrewsbury, so that £120 was going in on petrol, and that was it. But you know what? We had to clean our own kit as well. So we had to wash our own training kit, take it home and wash it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But again, because we'd done all those things in youth team, it comes second to none, you know. So you were just used to it. And plus, you're a professional footballer now. So they could have told me that I had to wash the gaffer's car every day. I wouldn't have cared. Do you know what I mean? I'd got to where, obviously, I'd be setting new dreams now to go. Next one was, because Shrewsbury were in League 2 at the time, right? I want to go and play in League 1. Then I want to go and play in the Championship, blah, blah, blah. So at the time, my first box had been ticked. And it was just an amazing feeling to finally sign that contract that you've been waiting so long to do.
So we'll look into that. So you was 18 years old. We're gonna use the internet, and then you can prove us yes or no. We don't do this very often, but I think for your career, we could talk about it while it's on screen if that's okay. So we're gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
So again, hopefully it's there. There it is. So if you have a look at this right at the top there. So this is 2006. You signed your first contract. Then is that correct?
Yeah.
2006-7 season, League 2 with Shrewsbury. You've made 12 appearances.
Yeah.
No goals. We won't talk about that.
I didn't really score goals.
So yeah, and obviously then you've got your other appearances, probably cup games and stuff. So 17. You know, for your first professional season, then is 17 games. Is that like normal, unheard of? How does that? You know, is that about right? Do you expect more or less?
I would say that I was very unfortunate on my first year at Shrewsbury because we were at Game Meadow. Like I said, it was like a sand. It was like a beach playing on that pitch. So with my attributes and how I played, didn't suit the pitch, if that makes sense, because it was sandy and stuff. And because I was fast and run with the ball, that was my whole game. I couldn't really do that on that pitch. But again, I played at Wembley in my first season at Shrewsbury. At the time the new Wembley had just been built, so I think we were one of the first teams to play on the new Wembley. Might have been the first, it being a League 2 playoff. And I came on for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and I was actually the youngest player to have played at Wembley like at that time. Obviously, that's been smashed now, but that was my first season, you know, and it was just. Yeah, it was just, you know, it's like yesterday, I can see it now. It was just an immense feeling just to be there, let alone get on the pitch and be able to play.
So obviously we've had that up on the screen. So you've done 3 seasons at Shrewsbury then. You stayed there then for 2.5 years. Obviously you've got more appearances as it looks like on here. Your last season before you moved on, you did like pretty much a full season, 43 appearances then. So you were probably in your stride, doing pretty well then before you went. Yeah. So is that reason, like you say, why you was there, why then by the looks of it, then you went over to, I can't see that one on my screen. So it says here you went for Stratford Rangers on loan.
Yeah.
So what was it? So what was this? So this is in 2017. So this was actually during your Shrewsbury time. They sent you out on loan again for half a season, did they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. And you know what? It was the best thing I ever did because I wasn't playing because of the state of the pitch or whatever the reasons were I wasn't playing. I wanted game time and I didn't care where it was. And this is what I always say to young players. If someone's offering you game time and you're not playing at your current club, take it. Because it's game time, you know. Unless you're a seasoned pro already and you're older, and obviously then to go down wouldn't be beneficial for you. But if you're a young player, just starting your career, and the club that you're at's not playing you, but someone 2-3 leagues down wants to play you, then you go and get that experience.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I was fortunate. Stafford Rangers were in the conference at the time, so they're only a league below. And it was the best thing I ever done. Go and get games with adults, and I loved it.
Yeah. So as we've seen there, I was just put it up. So then this is when you took it into the big leagues, should we say? You know, Motherwell come knocking. So again, I mean, that's obviously a bit of a move as well. I mean, is this something that you go through with your mother again? Was this a case of, hey, I'm going somewhere else? What do you reckon? Does mother's opinion always matter?
Yeah,
where you go.
And like I say, I was very close to my mum. Like I said it right at the beginning of the show, she was my rock. She was my go-to person. She was everything. So every decision that I made went through her. But at these times as well, I was also with Kerry as well. So, and I was fortunate that she followed me everywhere I went. And we were both young, we were still very young at the time. And we just got up, we spoke to our parents, and they wished us all the best. And we kind of just got up and travelled up to Scotland on our own and started a brand new life in a brand new country,
Yeah.
It was tough at first, and getting used to their culture and the way things are done. And I think the biggest thing for me was to getting used to how cold it was. I don't think if you've never been or whatever, and then you just go there, it's ridiculously cold, and that takes a bit of getting used to and stuff like that. So, and I remember my first ever game for them was straight into the Europa League.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a playoff game.
Crikey!
So
did you win?
Like, wow, this is big compared to where I've just come from. This is big dogs now.
Yeah. Did you win that game?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. Who was you playing?
I have to think of it. It might show that I'm there.
I don't know if it says on here. It probably would if I scroll further down. But obviously, we'll leave it as is. Motherwell. So obviously we're cutting short on time. We're going to fill it. I mean, we could sit here for hours. So I want to really jump forward.
Yeah.
So you got Motherwell. And then obviously you got Preston as well. You went on to Preston, so that's obviously another step up to a degree. Obviously coming back to England and then playing for Preston North End. I mean, your professional career itself, like you say, it's sent you all over the place. I mean, okay, you probably went to your mum and said, I've been offered a contract to play in a different country, and they went, "What are we talking? France, Spain, Italy, Germany, China?" No, I'm off to Scotland. So.
And to be honest, she was buzzing because my mum was born in Kilmarnock, so.
Oh, okay.
She was
yeah.
So she was like, "Yeah, get up there." Like.
Okay, so while we were on that, we can't knock the fact that we are technically talking to Chris Humphrey, international Jamaican football player. So obviously you've been called up, which is fantastic. I mean. So I take it that you've had to go back to Jamaica then. This was back in 2012. You've obviously taken this decision just beforehand to play for Jamaica. I mean, what kind of an experience is it? What's the difference between playing for a club team and then playing for your country? I mean, what's the feeling and the kind of, how's the routine?
All of a sudden, the biggest thing for me at the time, this is when I knew I was absolutely nobody and had absolutely no money when I joined Jamaica, because as soon as I got there, they're right, you're rooming with him, your room is already in the room, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking I'm going to go into the room, meet some big yardy man, Jamaican man, dreads, like everybody thinks. Walk into the room, it's Marlon King. Like, Marlon, I'm like young, first ever call up, and I'm rooming with Marlon King. And I'm just looking at him, just like, and he's like, "You all right, mate?" Like, all like, he's a normal guy. But like, when I've been watching you on the TV in the Premiership and stuff, and it's Marlon King. But then you hear all the stories that he's crazy and all this sort of stuff. So I remember just going in, and he's like, "Right, pass me a bag. You want a coffee? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Do you want me to make you one?" "Yeah, I'll make it." Like being the young man, the young boy trying to like impress. No, you sit down, put your feet up. I'll sort it, getting coffee and stuff. And he was just a normal bloke. But like I say, now I'm realising what I'm in, because I remember my first call up. Sorry, the dog. Dog's going mad. My first call up, I go into the room and everything, we're chilling. And he's on the phone to his missus, and they're moving house. So he's just bought his house, and then he's bought his missus' mum a house across the road. So basically he said, "You know what, yeah, babysitters, isn't it? Like, so we could have babysitters when we go out." So we just bought it over there. And then he's on the phone and he's saying, "Right, we're moving this amount of money to this account and moving that amount of money to that one to pay for that. And then we move this amount to..." And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I've got I've got £10 in my account. You know what I mean? So it was one of those. And, you all right? Mummy's here. Yeah. So it was just one of those. It was just a surreal moment for me, and I remember that night after training, they always go out and take the new boys out for a drink and stuff like that. And I remember I'd been to Primark before I left.
No.
T-shirts and everything like that. So I get there and I can't wait to get in my suitcase, get my Primark T-shirt on. It's cost me like £5 and some jeans, and I've got my trainers on, and I'm coming out the bathroom like thinking I'm, $1 million.
Swag.
And then the next thing, he comes out with his £250 T-shirt on, his £400 jeans and his £500 trainers, and just starts laughing at me. Saying, "What is that T-shirt you've got on?" And then the banter starts. And then I remember he actually went to his suitcase and goes, "No, you can't wear that, man. Take that off." And he just chucks me this £200 T-shirt. He says, "Put that on. That looks better." He says, "You can have that one. That's just one of my old ones." This is where you kind of like realise. Is
it humbling? It just kind of brings you back. You're just like...
It wasn't like he was, okay, the banter. Oh, when people go, "What are those?" Like, it was like, "What is that?" Like, do you know what I mean? And we all started laughing, but a couple of the other boys had come in the room, and everybody was having a laugh. But it was a nice laugh. It wasn't like taking a mick and where you feel like you just want to go in a hole and not come out. And then he just like went to his suitcase and just chucks you one that's cost a fortune, and then just says, "Oh, you can just have that one. Don't worry. It's my old one." You know what I mean? So for me, it was just like, this is unbelievable. That moment there is where I went, like, not made it, but this is amazing.
Yes, you've been at Motherwell and Preston, but you're like, or going to Preston, you're like, I'm hanging with the big dogs now. These people are serious competitors. These are footballers taking it home. So all credit to you. So obviously we're jumping on, mate. Cause we could talk for hours, but obviously we've both got prior engagements. You've got to be somewhere important. I've got to be somewhere extremely important at 8 o'clock.
We can do it again.
No, it's all right. Obviously, just Newcastle's on the TV at 8 o'clock.
we can do it again.
We can do a second part, but what I want to do while we're here is I want to do a shout out because a few of your lads are probably watching now. So you're no longer a professional footballer. You've jumped into management. Like we probably will do a part 2 because I feel like we have to. But we're just going to say. So you've left professional football. You're now a manager. If you want to tell people where you're a manager from, for those that probably watch my show, you'll know where he's from because in December last year we did an interview with Chris and Jay Rossi from Kendal Town, the chairman from Kendal Town. So there was me, the chairman, and obviously the manager of the first team, Chris, and then me sitting there quite nervous, like talking to a professional footballer. And now I work literally side by side with him and just like, whatever, man, whatever. So that's all gone now. So we're equal now. We're just as nuts. But management though. I mean, was management always the end game, or was it just something that you just know?
It wasn't. It wasn't. Like I never even thought of management. When back then, I don't know if they still do it now. Any young players that are at academies will have to tell me if they still do it. But back then, when I was in the youth team, we had to do our level 1 and 2 in coaching. It's just part of everything there. And it's just one of those things that, I'd already got the 1 and 2 and I never really thought about coaching. And then obviously I got a really bad injury at Preston. I broke my shin and ended up having to retire from it. And I remember going to take the under-16s at Preston. They'd invited me and said I could come down and do some coaching. And I took the under-16s. The first session I took them, I walked away and I remember coming home to Karen and saying, "That's what I want to do, man. I want to coach." It wasn't ever to be a manager at the start. I just said, I want to go into this. I want to coach. It was amazing. Like giving these young boys, I think I took the under 15s and 16s at the time, giving these young boys, they're looking up to me because I just, I played for Preston. They're taking everything in. They're listening to you. And it was amazing. And I just thought, I want to do this. So I carried on going. And I did it for about a year. And then I thought, you know what? I want to be a manager. So I remember that the first team at the time, there was a thing that was going on that they were doing their B license. So I rang the guy that was doing the B license and I said, look, would it be possible if I could jump on the B license? And he said, yeah, because you've played for Preston, you can jump on. Because there was only like 5 players from Preston doing it. It was a private thing. So it's like if you pay the money through the PFA and stuff. So I did it, jumped on. Which has been the best thing I ever did. And then obviously when I went up to East Kilbride to play for them in Scotland, the Gretna job came up. And it was actually, I was sitting on the bench with the lads in a game, and the lads go, like, Gretna job's come up, you know. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. And they're like, you'd be perfect for it. I was like, shut up, man. And they're like, yeah, you'd be amazing. Like, you know, because I used to like speak a lot in the changing rooms. I used to speak a lot, you know, on the training pitch because I was an experienced pro at East Kilbride, and I'd been there, done it. And I said, no, you'd be good, like, because when you speak to us and give us advice and stuff, you talk very well and you do it. And I thought, drove home that day and I thought, you know what? Yeah, I do want to do it. I do want to give it a go. So I remember that the interviews came up and I went for it and I did get it. And when I was managing them, it was just unbelievable. You know, the ideas you come up with and everything like that. I mean, John Foley and Lindsay must be absolutely sick to death of me because I'm on the phone to them all the time. I'm filling their head with nonsense, all the 10,000 ideas I've got running through my head. And I'm always saying, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. John's always arguing back, no, you can't do that. And then we're at each other, and then I'll turn around to John and go, yeah, you know what, you're probably right there. And that's why we work so well, because he's a person that if he's got something on his mind or if he doesn't believe it's not going to work, he'll say, nah, don't think that will work. And we bounce off each other like that. So, you know, it's a good partnership and it's one that's been I wouldn't say successful because we haven't finished the season, but it's one that's definitely improved us as a football club and improved the players and stuff. And alongside Lindsay, who's come in obviously with what she brings to the club, you know, I just need to get back, man.
I think what we'll do is we're going to do a bit of plugging. Beforehand, I've got 2 questions that have come up and they've been sitting there since the start of the show and I've just been waiting for the right time to bring them up. One, you might recognise the name, long-time supporter of Chaturday Live. It's your mate, Harry, the shirt winner. You did in the video, remember?
Yeah.
So he's like, what's your favourite shirt you have worn and why? I mean, out of all the teams you've played for, or any shirt that's had your name and number on it, which one is it? It's
tough. It's tough, that, Harry. I'm going to have to give you a couple, if that's all right. So, obviously, got promotion with Preston. Unfortunately, I didn't come off the bench at Wembley at that game. I played every single game that season. And then I got dropped for Wembley. So, obviously, as a footballer, you can imagine how gutting that is. But it was the right decision. Went out there, won 4-0 and got promoted as champions. Well, not champions, but got promoted to the championship. So I'd say that shirt, definitely. You know, with the Wembley badges on and everything, that shirt. Yeah. And also, we played at Motherwell, we played Panathinaikos in the Champions League. And I played the home leg against them. Pulled my hamstring a week later in the league. So missed the game away in Greece. But I'd have to say that because, you know, that was my debut in the Champions League. So I'd say probably those two shirts are massive. But then we got promotion with Hibs as well. So, you know,
I think one. I guess, like you say, every shirt and every team you've played for has had a special moment that obviously you'll remember. We've got a long-time watcher, first-time commenter, Mr. James Brooks. We'll just put it out there. You play on the right and you play obviously right back or right wing, depending on which team you play. Anywhere on the right, he's the right kind of guy. But obviously, you have scored goals. So James is asking, what's your favourite goal you've scored and why?
Oh.
Again, tough question, right?
It is because
you have scored a few, and if you watch Chaturday Live when we did it from Kendall Town, I would have put one up on the screen.
There's 3 amazing ones, so I'll give you I might as well just give you the 3, though.
Top of the pops. Go on. Where are we?
So, goal of the month for Preston against Doncaster. Top bins. Sorry. Then Motherwell against Dundee United away. Top bin. And then probably Motherwell. My last game for Motherwell, actually, where I run the length of the pitch.
Is that the one I shoot?
Huh?
That's the one I shoot on the show last time. Yeah. And that's is that your number one? Is that the order you're going in? That last one where you run the length of the pitch and just tidied it away with.
For any Kendall fans watching, Colne, bang, top bin. So, yeah.
Have you got to go, or can I ask one more question?
Yeah, one more question.
One more question from you. Obviously, we're going to have you back on the show.
Yeah.
I'm going to promote when you go. I'll stick around for another minute and just promote where else they can see what else is happening from me and you, not just here. We've got some good stuff to talk about. Being a captain for a football team, what makes a captain and what makes you choose a captain or to become a captain? Because a captain's armband is something that you see in the Premier League that not everybody would agree that that person deserves the captain's armband. But in your opinion, what makes a player become a captain? Is it what they do on the pitch or is it off the pitch?
It's a bit of everything. Now, obviously, when I came in, we had... Emil was captain, but I liked what he brought. And I did it for a confidence booster for him because we had an amazing player in there, and he'd proven to me since I'd come in so much how good he was, and I felt that giving him the captain's armband would then go and boost him again to go and have a good season, and it did. It really did, because all pre-season he was banging goals. And I think of the fact that he was leaving kind of played a bit of a doubt in his mind that he was going. So straight away, you'd kind of down tool a little bit. Anyone would, you know. But obviously when Hugo came in, I was like, oh, you know, this guy is different. The minute he came in, it was like a lift in the change room for one. All the players looked up to him. All the players went to him for advice. All the players, he was the go-to guy. So whatever he did on the pitch, really, I wasn't really fussed about that. It was more of this guy's an inspirational guy in the change room. From what I got that feel from the players when I see them around him, when I see the way he talks to them, when I see the way he encourages them, when I see the way he will dish out or telling off on the pitch. If you're not doing the right things, that's a leader to me. That's someone that will go in there and lead and encourage and pull people if they're down, and he'll pull them up, you know. Plus, he's 10'9", so you don't really.
Yeah, I was going to say that he can change. So, he can literally change the floodlights at Kendall Town.
You've got to have, for me anyway, as a manager, you've got to have those kind of attributes to be a captain. And if you look at the best ones, Roy Keane and stuff like that, they weren't just nasty men. They were leaders, and they were role models in their change room. Everybody looked up to them. So, yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
I think with the show tonight, I think what we're going to say is that we were going to do a second part of this show. We're going to call it part 2 of the life of Chris Humphrey, because I think we've missed a few things out that I think that are very crucial. And I just think on timing tonight, I think it's unfair to call at the end. Obviously, you're eventually going to be allowed to train and have people back on the pitch at Kendall. So what we'll do is that we may do a live show for Chaturday Live on the pitch at Kendall, and maybe see if you've still got it. We'll do a bit of a crossbar challenge, me and you.
Yeah, listen.
What do you reckon? You know, 3 balls each.
Yeah, we can do that, or we can do a crossbar challenge. But listen, I'd rather just do a top bin. You know, most of my goals have been top bin, so I can just put it in the top bin anytime you want. And yeah, you know.
I love those. I love that. Just as confident as anything. Top bins. Top bins. That is literally your career name. Chris Humphrey, top bin. Literally, that's it. Yeah. That's who you are. So, right, I know you've got to shoot off because you've got prior plans. But thanks very much, Chris, for joining us tonight. Thanks everybody else for joining in with us as well.
Thank you for having me. And like I say, anything that I can do, especially for such a show like this with the mental health awareness, you know, I'm massive into that, and maybe we can get into that the next time, you know, with
We will.
Things I've been through and stuff that's happened.
100%. I'm going to leave you because I know you've got to run off. I'm going to carry on talking and explain exactly what you're on about and what's coming up in the show in the next couple of weeks. Thanks ever so much, Chris, mate, and thanks again, and we'll speak to you soon.
No worries.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for watching tonight. We did have to cut that short because Chris does actually have more important plans than I do, just watching football. I've got so many questions that we didn't get through, so we're going to do a part 2 with Chris. I will explain. My actual day job now is that I'm the commercial manager for Kendalltown Football Club, which is where Chris manages. So that's why we know each other. And that's probably why we went into a lot of depth of other questions, because we have that time, which we don't have tonight. So we're going to continue that. You'll see a lot more Chris maybe on this show. And a surprise is that actually we're going to have Chris's better half on the show as well, Kerry. She's going to be talking to us about the life behind a professional footballer. It's not going to be talking about the football per se and Chris's skills and obviously his travelling. It's going to be more about actually speaking about the mental side of it, which is the whole point of this show, the mental side of having to follow, a professional footballer around the country and somewhat maybe across the world as well for international duties, while trying to be a parent, while trying to deal with your own life as well as a footballer's life. So we're going to have that coming up. So please definitely stay tuned for all of that as well. And if you are interested and you don't know, please go over to the Kendalltown Football Club Facebook page. Yesterday, me and Chris had our own private chat about actually Kendalltown. It's called Press the Players. It's a brand new show with me and Chris, kind of like this, but it's actually about the team rather than me and Chris. So look for Press the Players on Kendalltown's Facebook page. And the reason why you can see that this here is on there is because that is our sponsor of the other show. And we don't have a sponsor on Chaturday Live, but Lindsay's kindly kitted me out with some stuff as well. So thanks, Lindsay. You're an ace. And thanks for sponsoring our show unofficially tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure, again, you check out more of what we do on Chaturday Live. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's everywhere. I have no idea where else we may be. Make sure you check us out, follow us, and we'll follow you back on all these social media pages as well, because it's all about sharing. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you all again. Oh, I must say, tomorrow night, I do apologise, tomorrow night there's another special show. Hopefully that goes ahead with Mr. Dan Veal, where we talk music. We actually talk music. Me and Mr. Dan Veal, we talk rubbish about music. It's going to be the most insane show tomorrow night if it goes ahead. So I haven't plugged it yet, but if that does go ahead, it's going to be amazing. So tune into that tomorrow night as well. So thanks again for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you're up to. Remember to stay safe, stay in contact with people. Lockdown hopefully is on its way out soon. But remember to stay safe, look after people, stay in contact with people, and most of all, keep yourself mentally in check as well, because look after yourselves, and we'll see you again. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye.